we're going to have a little talk about Mula Bandha. Mula is a Sanskrit word that means root, and Bandha means lock. And so Mula Bandha is the root lock, or the energetic effect of engaging the pelvic floor muscles. So there's nothing that we can like concretely say, ah, yes, that's the bandha in the body. Mm-hmm. It's really just a movement. We're using the physical body, or moving parts of the physical body in a subtle way. It's not a big muscular action. Thank you. It's not a big muscular action, but it's moving in a subtle way some of the smaller muscles of the pelvic floor. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, it starts to create an energetic effect.
I thought I was just supposed to squeeze my anus as hard as possible.
Not as hard as possible, but definitely lifting the anus vaginal walls is one way that it gets described. If you don't have vaginal walls, then just lift your anus. But for women, both parts are kind of lifting, but sometimes this is a difficult place in the body physiologically to connect to. You know, we don't spend a lot of mental energy really like working out our pelvic floor. So it's a bit of a blind spot for most people. So one way that we can start to access Mula Bandha is by finding a comfortable seated position. So this can be whatever is a comfortable seated position. It doesn't have to be lotus. It can just be, you know, half lotus or one foot in front of the other. And you want to feel the sit bones grounding down into the floor. And then you just want to start connecting to your breathing, connecting to your breath. And as you exhale, try to feel the sit bones pressing down into the floor. And then as you inhale, you're going to feel the sit bones moving towards each other. And then as you exhale, just release that effort. Again, at the bottom of the exhale, feel the sit bones grounding down into the floor. And then as you inhale, it's like they're trying to draw together, and there's maybe even a little upward lift in the center. And then exhale, relax and release. Again, feel the sit bones pressing into the floor. As you inhale, the sit bones are moving in and up. And then exhale, relax and release. And one more time, pressing the sit bones down, feeling the lower back relax. As you're inhaling, the sit bones are moving in towards the center. Exhale, relax and release. And then you want to find the front and the back of the pelvis, so your pubic bone and your coccyx or your tailbone. If these are very vague places in your body, you can put your fingers there just to give you something to think about. Now at the bottom of the exhale, try to mentally connect the pubic bone and the tailbone. And as you're inhaling, feel like the pubic bone and the tailbone are moving towards each other, in towards the center. And then exhale, just relax and release. And then again, at the bottom of the exhale, connect to the front and the back of the pelvis. As you're inhaling, feel like they're moving together to meet in the middle, and then exhale, release. Again, inhale, pubic bone, tailbone come towards each other. Exhale and soften. And inhale, pubic bone, tailbone come towards each other. Exhale, release. Now you want to think of your pelvic floor like the four corners of a pyramid. You have your pubic bone, your tailbone, and the sit bones on both sides. At the bottom of your exhale, feel the sit bones come together, and also the tailbone, the pubic bone come together. So all four corners are drawing in towards the center, and then exhale and release. And then you can even imagine as if you're trying to pick the pyramid or the tent up from the top. At the bottom of the exhale, feel the sit bones, the tailbone, the pubic bone, and as you're inhaling, you're lifting the pyramid up, and all four corners are coming in towards the center line. And then exhale, release. And then again, inhale, feel the sit bones come together, tailbone, pubic bone comes together, everything moving into the center and up, and exhale, relax and release. One more time, inhale, sit bones come together, tailbone, pubic bones moving together, the whole bandha is lifting, and exhale, release. So this is one of the exercises that you can do in the morning, or especially at the end in Padmasana when you have Jnana Mudra and you're breathing and you're taking those 10 breaths after Yoga Mudra. Instead of just breathing and not really thinking about anything, or just trying to think about, oh, I have to do Utthapluttahi and then finally I can rest, you could take this time to really focus on your breathing and focus on your Mula Bandha. And at the bottom of each exhale, try to connect to your sit bones, connect to your tailbone, your pubic bone, and as you're inhaling, you're drawing all 4 points together and up, and then as you're exhaling, you're releasing and relaxing. And as you're inhaling, you're engaging that Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor, and then as you're exhaling, you're releasing and relaxing again. So one of the benefits of Mula Bandha is that it, like the name, the root lock, it creates a great deal of stability, which helps to increase your balance. It's also greatly affected by the big toe mound. So when you're in your standing postures, if you can really emphasize that big toe mound and the inner leg line, it helps to engage and connect to the pelvic floor, to Mula Bandha. And so it's this really rooting quality. And it's interesting because not many styles of yoga really have an emphasis on Mula Bandha, but Ashtanga yoga has a great emphasis on Mula Bandha, thanks to Pattabhi Jois, where it creates more of an effect in the practitioners that's a very grounded view of reality. I feel that the Ashtanga practitioners tend to be much more well-rooted, and the longer you practice and the more you practice, you actually become more grounded and more natural in who you are, rather than affected by some personality that you think, you know, is a yoga personality. And so I think the Mula Bandha actually has a very positive effect of creating this connection to the earth, connection to ourself, to our deeper identity. Sri Shankaracharya said that Mula Bandha is that which connects, or that which draws the mind to its source, or to the root. And so it has this focus of bringing the mind inward. So as we're practicing, we're thinking of Mula Bandha, or thinking of this energetic effect of lifting the pelvic floor. It's actually pulling our mind in towards the source, or towards the self, rather than having our thoughts and attention wandering outside of ourself. It's a very strong mechanism of drawing our attention inward and connecting to something much deeper inside of ourselves, which actually creates the effect of yoga internally. So the Mula Bandha, definitely the engaging of the pelvic floor and this lifting, you know, it has an interesting effect in that it reverses the natural tendency of gravity to push everything down. And so as we get older, everything kind of starts to sink and sag, and even our organs and our pelvic floor becomes a little weaker, and everything's kind of, you know, feeling the effects of gravity. The Mula Bandha reverses that. So it's taking that downward Apana energy and it's sealing off the bottom of the pelvic floor. And then when you engage Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha together, it starts to move that energy upwards. So it's fighting gravity. And really, I feel, I mean, that it creates this youthfulness in the yoga practitioners that really focus on the bandhas, because it's helping to maintain that vital life energy that they say seeps out of all the holes in our body. So that's one of the reasons why you would want to seal off your pelvic floor when practicing yoga, is so that the energy isn't seeping out your pelvic floor, but you're holding it internally. And so I also think that it is related to the parasympathetic nervous system and to the stimulation of this vagus nerve and the toning of the vagal response. because the vagus nerve comes all the way down into the very base of the pelvis. And so by using the Mula Bandha, you're creating that stimulation, which then is creating a feedback loop. And especially when you use the breath and the bandha together, it's really working on that whole nervous system to tone it and to create balance and this polyvagal response, which is creating a relaxed, calm center or demure.
And do you think that also relates then to the nervous system plexus that are in the body?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're engaging the base of your spine and stimulating in a positive way the base of the spine, which is what you're trying to do with the drawing in of the pelvic floor muscles, it's going to affect your nervous system directly, which is going to affect all the plexes of energy. You know, the one through your sacrum, the one through your lower belly, your navel, heart center, digestive system, your throat. It's going to affect your whole central nervous system because you're stimulating in a very gentle, positive way the base of the spine through the pelvic floor. Uddiyana Bandha is the flying upward lock. Uddiyana means lifting upward, flying upward, technically. And this is related to the Mula Bandha because when you engage the pelvic floor, naturally you start to draw in the lower abdominal area. But Uddiyana Bandha is putting a little bit more emphasis on the drawing in of the lower abdomen. It's not Uddiyana Bandha Kriya that you might have seen pictures of where you're lifting your diaphragm on an exhale retention and all of the organs are getting drawn to the back of the body. But it's just the root of that type of Kriya where you're just using the lower belly about 3 fingers below your navel. And again, sometimes this is a difficult area to connect to, especially for women who have had cesareans. It can be really difficult because whenever you have abdominal surgery, you're cutting through the nerves, and it creates a lot of extra work then to reconnect the connection back into the muscles there because there's been a little bit of damage because of the surgery. So any abdominal surgery, sometimes it creates like a really blind spot, and you'll say to someone who maybe has had, you know, even 2 or 3 cesareans, you know, draw in your lower belly, and they're like, I don't know how. It doesn't, I have no connection there. Because it's really a difficult area to create strength in if you've never really done any kind of strengthening work to the lower abdomen. So some of the ways that we can start to feel the lower belly a little bit more. So one way is by crossing our shins and just placing the toes on the floor. And then as we exhale, we're going to squeeze the legs into the chest and try to hollow or draw in the lower abdomen flat to the spine. And then as you inhale, just release. And then again, exhale, pull the lower belly in, and inhale, release. Exhale, pull the belly in, inhale, release. Exhale, pull the belly in, inhale, release. And you can switch sides even. Exhale, pull the belly in, inhale, release. Exhale, squeeze and hollow. Really try to scoop the lower abdomen. Inhale, release. Exhale, scoop and pull the thighs into the chest. Inhale, release. Again, scoop, pull the thighs into the chest. Inhale, release. So sometimes that helps to create some awareness or connection of the lower abdomen. That's squeezing and hollowing, drawing the thighs into the chest. Another little exercise is like Navasana, where you're going to sit right up on the front edges of the sit bones, and again, point the toes so just the tips of the toes are on the floor. You're going to squeeze the legs together and try to really hollow or scoop out the lower abdomen. And then we're going to lift the legs up, keep squeezing the legs together, keep trying to draw the lower belly to the base of the spine. So you're really scooping the lower abdomen, flattening it towards the spine. And then we're just going to lift one leg. Try and breathe, scoop a little deeper, scoop a little bit more, hold, and then lower, And then other leg. Keep squeezing the legs together. If you can even use the Mula Bandha. Try to lift the pelvic floor. Draw the sit bones together. Stay up on the front edges of the sit bones. Keep hollowing the lower belly. And then down and switch again. Pull the lower abdomen in. Really toning and firming the lower belly towards the base of the spine. And then again, switch. Pull the lower abdomen in. Scooping, breathing, holding. Good. And then you can try both legs. Really draw the lower belly in. You're holding your legs here so that you can focus more energy on drawing the belly into the spine rather than holding the legs. So by creating the V and sitting right up on the sit bones and really hollowing and firming and toning the lower belly, you can really start to feel the Uddiyana Bandha coming in and up. So those are two little exercises that you might want to incorporate. You can do it in Navasana, in boat pose in your practice, or even outside of the practice. You don't necessarily need to have the Surya Namaskar or warm yourself up to do some of these toning exercises. Another nice way to start to feel the bandha, and this is, maybe you've been practicing for a while and you feel comfortable in forearm stand, is to take this preparation for Pincha Mayurasana, where you're coming onto the forearms and you're spreading the fingers, you're feeling the base. You want your elbows to be lined up under the shoulders and the palms to stay parallel so they're not splaying out. And then from here, you're going to lift into a downward facing dog position. And then you're going to start to lift onto your toes and walk your feet forward. And then you're just going to hold here, lifting the toes and scooping deep in the lower belly. So as you can see here, Russell's pressing the shoulder blades back and he's maintaining this nice straight line through his shoulders here. So he's not sinking or dropping forward, but he's using these muscles to press the floor away, and then at the same time he's really hollowing nice and deeply in the lower belly, in the lower abdomen. And so just holding there even 20 breaths, and he's really trying to work to keep his hands from moving in towards each other. So you're maintaining your base. And this is a great way to really start to feel Uddiyana Bandha. It's also an excellent preparation for Pincha Mayurasana and Krandavasana. Okay, you can come down. So that's another way to try and access Uddiyana Bandha. Did you feel it?
Again, I'd say I was working much harder than I wanted to.
The one other nice way to feel the Uddiyana Bandha is in the downward facing dog. And we practice a lot of downward facing dogs, or Adho Mukha Svanasana, in our practice. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to really try to connect to the lower abdomen and feel that scooping action. So in your downward dog position, you really want to press through the big toe mound and feel that inner leg line. And then feel the sit bones moving together. And the gaze is kind of looking behind the thighs or up towards the belly. And then you're really lifting the lower abdomen in towards the spine. And if you want to get into it a little bit deeper, you can lift onto the toes. Once you lift onto the toes, send the sit bones back. Bend the knees a little, send the sit bones back a little bit further, and then really hollow in the lower abdomen. So really feel the belly pull in. And then straighten the legs. Keep the belly pulling in and then lower the heels. And you should feel the bandha a little bit deeper, a little bit more hollowing happening in the lower abdomen. So once again, you're hollowing already in the downward dog. You're feeling the sit bones coming together, but he wants to feel it a little bit deeper. So he's going to lift onto his toes and then bend the knees, send the sit bones back, hollow a little bit more, then straighten the legs, and then lower the heels and keep all of that juicy hollowing action in the Uddiyana Bandha that he just discovered. So if you try that for yourself, I think you'll really find that you can deepen that effect of the Uddiyana Bandha in the lower abdomen and really start to find it.
I'd like to start by thanking you for coming to Purple Valley. It's been a pleasure, Harmony, working with you. There's a number of people that I think I'd also like to thank, because anytime that I speak, I know that I'm referencing some certified teacher, some yoga teacher, some ancient yoga teacher that's helped us in the past, and a few that I can think of off the top of my head, and I know I'm missing some people, and forgive me if I do, you know who you are, but it's Sri K. Patabi Joyce, it's Saraswati and Manju, it's Sharat Joyce, Paramaguru Sharat Joyce. And then it's also people, wonderful people like Richard Freeman, Dina Kingsburg, David Swenson, Guy Donahue, Tim Miller, John Scott, Chuck Miller, Nancy Gilgoff, wonderful people who have put words in my mouth to be able to offer as speech objects to other people.
Yeah, it is a wonderful practice, and especially for us in our generation, we've had the opportunity of not only learning from Patabi Joyce and Sharat Joyce and Saraswati at times and Manju Joyce, but many, many senior teachers that have been practicing years beyond us, and it's of great value that they've added to our practice and to our understanding of the practice. And so, of course, you know, their contribution to what we have then interpreted and discovered within our own practices is really tremendous, and a lot of gratitude to the lineage in all its forms and in all the people who continue to practice and transmit this practice to us and to others. And yeah, we're very grateful. And thank you to Purple Valley and all the people here, the staff and everyone. It's a wonderful, wonderful retreat center and a great escape away from Western life, and you get to be in India and relax by the pool and drink coconuts. So it doesn't get much better than that.
And of course, none of this would be possible without Keno McGregor.